Now let's go ahead and start working on the body. We're gonna start out by doing the torso. Let's go ahead and Shift A and let's go ahead and create a UV sphere and just go ahead and bring that down. And look at the side view. I'm gonna pull that back. Okay, and I'm just gonna go to scope mode. Make sure you have symmetry turned on. Alright, now we could go ahead and just start to do the basic shape of the rib. So I like to do is I just kind of like to just shape it out like this. Pull that back, and the strength I'm going to crank it up slightly. Yeah, so from the side view, just thinking about how the rib is looking like. This. And then he looks funny in the front. I'm gonna go to the front and just gonna make it wider. So what I'm thinking about right now is basically the rib, just the basic forms of the rib. So remember, you have the rib here, right? So that's what I am doing. And of course, could go ahead and remesh this. Right now I have it at 0.1. If I go and remesh that, yeah, I think this will be fine. Just a basic shape. We don't need that much geometry. And I'm gonna bring down the smoothing. So remember at the beginning, if you have a very low resolution mesh, you don't wanna have an intensity for the smoothing way too high. Otherwise you're just melting down the clay. Let's make that wider. Pull this back and smooth it. Alright, something like that. Smooth it down. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and just go from the bottom here, and I could see that I could make it wider. Okay, alright. And maybe even make this slightly wider. Smooth it. Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and mask this area out. Control I to invert it. Control I. And I'm gonna go to my grab brush and just kind of move this down. That. And kind of move this like this. So we got more to work with. Alt M. Alright. And once again, it's gonna start just moving. This. Pull that out. So as I'm doing this, I'm already thinking of the S curve. So I'm thinking of the S curve like this. So we don't want to have a torso that's way too straight. So when you are doing the human form, it's a lot of S curves going, especially the spine area. And I'm gonna go Control R to remesh that and smooth it. And then we go ahead and just do extrusion for the arm here. And what I'm gonna do to add the measure is just using the inflate brush. I'm gonna press I and just gonna bulk that up. And you could crank up the intensity to further make it faster, like that. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just pull that like this. And looking from the top, you go press 7, pull that out. This onto the front view, pull that out. And making things wider, slowly wider. And then the shoulder, could pull it up. Pull that down and pull it down slightly. So right now we're just thinking of the shoulder, and then we have this roundness for the deltoid. Okay. So just thinking of those basic shapes as I'm doing this. Just gonna make the shoulder here wider. Go. And looking from the top, kind of widen this up. Pull this like this. And while we're here, we could also just widen the area where we're gonna have the chest, and just kind of pull this down. That you can see we kind of already have a form of the shape taking effect there, right? Now we could thinking about the clavicle. We gotta draw the clavicle here using the draw sharp. Could just carve this in, and think the intensity is too high. I'm gonna bring down the intensity, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and indicate the clavicle area. And the clavicle area from the top is going to look somewhat of an S curve, and from the front here, if you're looking from the front of the clavicle, it's kind of straight but not quite, so slightly still a little curve. So not too straight like this, okay, because that's gonna look robotic. So you still want to think of a little bit of off curve going, and go maybe kind of move this down slightly, and I'm gonna remesh that so we got more to work with. And while we're here, we could go ahead and carve in the clay here, carve in from this part all to this part here. And the reason why we're doing that is because we have the clavicle here, and then we have the deltoid here connecting to the 1/3 of the clavicle. So I want you to think of the clavicle in 3 parts. We have 1, 2, and then 3. So you're going to see the connection here, starting the last third of the clavicle. The deltoid is going to be connecting on that, okay? So thinking about those as I'm doing this. And while we're here, we could kind of bulk up the deltoid area like so, and bulk out this area, and also at the back we could widen this up using the grab brush, just kind of widen that. So he is pretty built. For the Creed movie, he definitely worked out a lot. And so the type of body that I'm trying to go for is more like the body that he has for Creed. And also when I'm looking at the bottom part here of the deltoid, I'm still thinking of making it round. And maybe I could kind of smooth it like that. Alright. And here, looking at the neck here, we have to add, using the draw sharp, the connection of the neck. And we could go ahead and add some more geometry. I'm going to go ahead and set this to 0.08, and then I'm going to go ahead and remesh that. Alright, so now if we go to draw sharp, could carve this in, carve this in. So as I am doing the neck, I'm thinking of this connecting. We have the sternum here, right? Sternum bone. You feel on your middle of your chest, right here at the top, you could feel something hard. That's going to be the part of the skeletal system, which is the sternum, and our neck, which is called the sternocleidomastoid, and it's a pretty good name because it tells you where the connections are. It connects to the sternum, which is here. It connects to the sternum, cleido. It connects to the clavicle also. So there's a part of the neck that connects to the clavicle and also connects to the sternum. And then mastoid, which is the mastoid process, which is also connects right here at the back of the ear, which is going to be the mastoid process, which is going to be the part of the ear. And so that's the name of it. It tells you the connections, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of further indicate that muscle. And actually I'm going to go and kind of move this forward slightly. That. And I think I'm going to go back to his face here. I'm going to go to sculpt mode. And then just kind of bring his neck up like that. Alright, this. Going to further work on this later, but let's just focus on the torso. Okay, so I think for his torso, okay, so this is a Calvin Klein photo here he has modeled for Calvin Klein. But you could see, look at his shoulder, it's going down and then rounds out and then comes down like that. So we could implement that on our sculpt. And I think looking at his torso here, I think the biggest part of his body really is going to be his chest. He has a really puffy chest, like he has like double D's, you know. He's been working a lot. I think that's the number one thing he works out on, is maybe his genetics, and most of his muscles go there and fat go there. But I wouldn't say he's 100% defined. He's not 100% defined. Like, you can't really see each individual muscle, and he has some muscles, but at the same time, it's not. You could still see a little bit of fat on top, and I think this is probably what most women like. They don't like somebody that look like they're on steroids, like really too large and too defined. So I think this is more like the perfect body for most women. Okay, not too big, not too skinny, but something like this, right? But we have his proportion. He has a slim waist, big chest, and his arms is not very large, but it's curvy. Okay, so just think of that shape. Everybody's different. Think of your character shape. So speaking of that, let's go back to our sculpt mode and start to add some more of those volume on the chest. I'm using the sculpt draw as I am doing this. So he has a very bulky chest, I would say. Very bulky chest. There you go. It kind of comes down, and most of the bulk you could see it right there on the side. Kind of smooth it. Smooth it a bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and just further indicate the bony landmark here for the clavicle, and then add some volume for the deltoid area. So for the deltoid, we have this here, and then we have the chest area here, okay? And for the chest area, there's going to be 3 parts for the chest. You're going to have the top part of the chest, and then you're going to have the middle part here, and then the bottom part. So if you look at a really defined bodybuilder, you don't really see the individual striations on Michael B. Jordan, but let's say you're doing a bodybuilder, you're going to see more of the definition of the chest as I've shown you here. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of move this down slightly, and between the clavicle, between the deltoid and the chest area here, it's going to look like there's a little dip here, okay? Because there's really no muscle here or no fat, so it's going to be a little dip, okay? Little dip in there. So you could kind of implement that by pushing the clay in there later on. But right now, there's really not enough geometry here, so I'm just going to leave that alone. But I'm going to go ahead and just add some more volume there. All right. And looking from this view, I think that it looks like too puffy. I'm going to go ahead and kind of move this down. There you go. And if you guys look at how the side view looks like for the male, it was hard for me to find a side view of Michael B. Jordan, so I'm also looking at other references that kind of have a similar body to Michael B. Jordan. And so you could see the chest here. Even though it has a thick chest, look at the shape of this. We have this Adam's apple and it comes down like this. And then it looks like from this view, it's not sticking out like that, right? So you gotta take this into account. So it slopes down, and then it kind of gets bulky around there, okay? So you have to think of that as you are doing a built character. It's not gonna be puffy at the top, okay? So let's go ahead and go back to our side view here. All right, and yeah, so looking at this here, you could see that I didn't really make it as puffy. but I do kind of want to work on the neck area. So I think for the neck area, I just kind of made it slope down like this. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. I want to make it more like we have the Adam's apple here, right? Then it's going to come down and then straight down like this. And then we have the chest. So I want to kind of fix that. I'm going to go to my grab brush and just kind of move it like this. Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my head, go to scope mode. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and indicate the Adam's apple. Alright, Adam's apple like that, and it's going to make this pop like this. Okay, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to scope mode. I'm going to go ahead and set this higher. So I don't want him to have a really long neck either, so just slightly higher like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and flatten this up. Still bulky, you could see from the front, still bulky. Alright, still bulky as it needs to be. Still has volume on his chest. But just looking at the side, making sure that everything's still good, and we don't want it to be bulky at the top. I'm going to go ahead and carve this in to further just indicate the shape of the chest area. Okay, and I think for this I'm going to go ahead and carve this part in so there's a little dip right there. And yeah, I'm going to go back, see here. Okay, now I could go ahead and think about the area for the abs. Okay, so for the area for the abs, if you look at his abs, it's not very deep, the definition at all. And yeah, even for the Creed movie, it's not too defined. It is there. Okay, we do have some abs there. And let's go to google.com and type in, if I go ahead and type in Michael B. Jordan Creed, and let's go ahead and type in abs. So we look at his abs here. So right here, it's more defined. He definitely like he's been working out for this part here. Okay, so in here, here is not very, maybe it's the lighting. And here is not too defined. I think for that photo where he's lifting up his shirt, he's definitely sucking his stomach in. I think that's the reason why it looks more defined. But here he cannot fool us. He's not. I think naturally it's not really that defined, his abs. It is there, but it's not 100% defined. Yeah, this one definitely sucking his stomach in here. That's what you could see when you suck your stomach in. You could make your abs show some more. So yeah, go ahead and look at some photos of your subject. You could type in, let's say you're doing Chris Hemsworth, you could put Chris Hemsworth abs, or if you're doing anybody really, yeah, you could go and type that in. But yeah, I don't think that his abs is that defined. I think I'm gonna be using this as a reference. And maybe I could also look at, this is a good reference. I think the best one is, this is also a good reference here, but it's just being covered by the flag. So you want to see something where you're able to see both sides. So maybe this one, I could also save this photo. I'm going to use that photo there. This one is a good photo. You can see his abs. Yeah. So we could go ahead and work some more on his ab area. Yeah. So gonna go ahead and do that. So gonna go ahead and add some right here. There. And while we're doing this, I am thinking about the likeness, but at the same time, I am really just thinking about the anatomy and make sure the anatomy is correct. So the way his abs is, I think for most people, the first part of the abs is like the smallest part, and then here it gets wider. And we have, you could tell if somebody has a six-pack if you could count this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then right here, somewhere right there is going to be the navel, and then we're going to have like a keg right there. And around this area, it's just going to be flat or slightly bulky. And there's going to be some really bodybuilder steroid guys where it looks like there's an 8-pack. But for most people, it's just going to be somewhat like a keg, right? Here's a little bit volume, okay? And so that's what I'm thinking of as I'm doing this. Just going to go ahead and using the clay strip brush. I think this is a very good brush to use when creating abs. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just add the navel right there. And add the keg like that. Okay. And looking at his, let's look at his side oblique here. Now from the side, it looks like there's going to be a seesaw-like kind of shape. So we have this going, and we have this going. This muscle is called the serratus anterior. You don't necessarily have to learn the anatomical muscles, but I think if you could just understand the main forms, that would be also okay. I mean, at the beginning, I did try to learn the names of the muscle. And I don't remember every single name of the muscle, but I think if you're a beginner, it's good to kind of study the names. That way you're kind of if you kind of know somebody's name, right? Let's say you know a friend and you know their name. I think it's good to remember them also just by having a label or let's say it's a product. You want to have like a label, a name connected to it, and that way it'll be easier for you to remember. And it's the same with muscles, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of indicate the muscle area, the seesaw area here. And the way this works is, let's say we have the nipple. I do like to add a nipple first, like this, right? Add a nipple there, and then after I add a nipple, I like to draw a line like this, right? And then from there we could draw like a seesaw type of muscle. So that's where this is drawing the line there. It shows me the division between the part of the seesaw muscle here and the seesaw muscle there, and where it should be placed, okay? So this is a good guide for me to use. And yeah, I think for his muscle here, this part is going to be the serratus anterior muscle here, and this one is going to be the external oblique muscle. All right, this is going to be the side oblique muscles that's tighten the abs if you want to like have a really tight small waist, right? And we're gonna have that, and then we have this, which is going to be the lats muscle. It gives us the V-shaped torso, which we're going to be implementing that in a few minutes. But yeah, I'm just thinking about this here, and then maybe protruding this out around this area and make this pop out like this. Have it stick out like that, right? And then we could go to the draw sharp. Gonna carve this in that. So we're gonna have the external oblique muscle like this. It's a very nice shape, and we have this tail coming down as part of the oblique, side oblique muscles there. Alright, so gonna go ahead and just move this up, and then I'm going to make this area slightly bulky. And I'm gonna go to the side view, and I'm gonna go, I think, looking at this area, I don't like to make it way to look like he's sticking out his chest too much. I like to make things look natural, so what I like to do is just kind of have it stick out like this, like more of a neutral position like this. All right, and I'm gonna go and remesh that, and then I'm gonna go, I think we could also show a little bit more love at the back part for him. So we could go ahead and look at the back, and studying his back here, you could see we have, I don't think his back is too defined either, but you could see that there's the traps right here, and we have, I think, of the scapula right here, the bony landmark, and then we have the traps in this area, and then we have his deltoid right here, and we're going to think about his side back muscle. This is going to be a prominent muscle, which is going to be the teres major muscle, and then we have another muscle, another back muscle, which is called infraspinatus. This area is fairly flat, and of course we're going to be adding the lats here, and from the back you could see slightly the oblique, external oblique. If you don't have an external oblique, you have a fat on top, it's going to be love handles, right? But those are the muscles that we're going to be implementing on the torso. I'm trying to look here, so you could see more of his back and pride here. So first, I do like to think about the scapula, and then we have this muscle right here, which is going to be the trapezius. It connects to the top part here of the scapula, kind of rounds out, comes down. It slightly ends slightly below the scapula, slightly ends below the back, the side back muscle. So side back muscles are going to be this. You're going to see this a lot on built guys. All right. And then you're going to see also this back part of the muscle. And of course, we got the arm muscles right here, the deltoid right there. And we're going to have the lats. Okay. So we could go ahead and start sculpting a little bit of that area already. Yeah, we could go ahead and do that. Go ahead and using the clay strip brush. Yeah, so what I like to do is I like to go to my draw sharp, and I do like to indicate the bony landmarks first, like that. And then gonna carve this in, thinking about the traps, have it kind of come down. Okay, just smooth it, and I'm gonna go ahead and just carve this area in. There's a little depth there, and thinking of the muscles here for the deltoids, I'm gonna go use a clay strip brush. And remember, for the side back muscles, we have the big bulky one, which is going to be the teres major, and then the flat ones is going to be the infraspinatus. And of course, we could make this part bulky for the trap area right here. Kind of smooth it, and then here we're going to add the lats muscle. Using the clay strip brush, just going to go ahead and just kind of indicate the lat area here. That gives it a V shape. And then we could add a little bit of that oblique showing, or if the guy's more on the fat side, like around here, it's going to be love handles, right? And here we have the muscle called the serratus anterior muscles that contributes to the seesaw-like shape here. So for this serratus anterior, you could see it from the front, a little bit on the side front, and it also, you could see it, you're going to be able to see a little bit of its form at the back, okay? And you're going to see a little bit of it. It's going to be underneath the lats muscle, which is going to be lats muscles like this, right? So if the lat muscles is quite thin, you're going to see a little bit of the serratus anterior shape, okay? And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and kind of indicate just slightly the serratus anterior here, and bulk up the teres major slightly. And for this side back muscles here, okay, a little bit of it is being covered by the lats muscle, a little bit of it, okay, a little bit of it is going to be covered by that, just to let you know. And then we're going to have another form that's going to show at the back is going to be the spinal muscles. And which is something that we could indicate using the glacier brush, just kind of add a little bit of shape like that. Okay, and kind of use the draw sharp, just kind of carve this in. All right, go. And I'm gonna go, just kind of move this down. There you go. And I'm gonna go ahead, draw sharp, and just gonna carve this in area. Go. And we could go ahead and just look at the side view, see what we're working with. Yeah, it's looking good so far. Just very natural, and then we still got that S curve going. I think we are in a good start. And I think for the chest area, could go ahead and go to draw sharp and just kind of further make this stick out some more. We're kind of in a very low poly. We don't have a lot of polygons, but I think we're in definitely a good start here with the abs. And look at his abs here. I think like in this area, this area is quite straight. It's not 100% straight. You're still gonna see some breakups here and there. And this part right here is going to be small, then gets a little wider as I showed you. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and think about that. I think for this part here, I think I need to make the top part, his abs, smaller. And I'm going to go to my draw sharp and just kind of carve this area in to make the indication that it's definitely smaller. In this area. So not that small, so it still has some width to the side right here. And then carve this in. And then I think for the deltoid area, could add a bit more of that bulkiness on the deltoid here. Yeah, I think my favorite part to do, I would say, is definitely the back part. It's pretty fun. The shapes here to do is pretty fun. Okay. And kind of indicate more the serratus anterior. I'm gonna go ahead and buff this out slightly so we got a bit more detail. There you go. So we have this. If the person is not 100% defined, then their back is going to have a little bit of the skin fold here. And the fatter they are, the more fat they have, then the more loose of the skin, you're going to see some folds at the back. Which, of course, in my case, he doesn't have a lot of fat at the back. At the same time, like I said, it's not 100% defined, you know. So I got to keep that in mind. And I'm just going to go ahead and just make this a little deeper. So we have like more of a indication at the back here. Carve that in. Okay. And add some spinal muscles there. And I think we're gonna bring this down, remesh it, and I'm gonna go slightly indicate the area, the dimple of the butt, okay, and smooth it. And we're gonna do more of the butt later, but I just wanna already have some kind of indication of that here. So yeah, later on we are gonna be doing the butt area. So we're gonna have, there's the oblique love handles, if you want to call it love handles, and then we got the lats right here, and then we're gonna have the dimples at the butt. And later we are going to be doing the butt muscles, okay, and we're gonna be doing the leg area. We're gonna be doing all that later, but yeah, right now we are just focusing on the arms, okay, and we're gonna start focus on the upper body. And I think this shape is coming along so far, and I think we could further indicate the underarm, add a little bit more details here. So for the part here for the lats, it connects under, right about here under the arm, comes down like this, and then we got the external oblique here going, serratus anterior, and it's pretty good what we have so far for our torso.